Please look at the timer. Please. Please look at the timer. 1910. You literally have a free pass to farm everything.
Banana slam jam.
This is a Luna 4400 replay. Okay, you're getting healed up. Yeah, you're just not using creep aggro well enough at all in this lane. Pretty much not using creep aggro at all.
Pew, 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 pew.
Your player perspective makes me like really uncomfortable. I don't know about like anybody else watching. You know, if you're at home and or you're on YouTube or something watching this. I just want you to think that like this area just doesn't do anything for your player perspective. Like I would love if your player perspective was like this. You know, maybe with Undying doing what it was doing, you do like this. But like having it like this is just like so inefficient. It bothers me. I don't usually comment about player perspective very often because I consider it very subjective. But I feel like if we go back to your player perspective, if we go back to your player perspective, like it's just weird. I don't really understand why. I constantly feel like I don't see the creeps, and those like are what matter to me. Yeah, it's a pretty consistent issue. Okay. Opponent kind of just died. Gonna drag right, aggro to your range. I think based on timing of his respawn, like if you look at his respawn timer right now, you drag to his range, which is great. I would deny this first. You need to make sure that this creep is dead and this creep is dead by the time he respawns. And then after that, it's like all efficiency. Like once you've got these two creeps down, like what you did is conceptually correct. This creep's in like in a dangerous spot for you, and this creep is the one that you're trying to make sure it gets denied. So like this is a perfect example where you've got 3 seconds on his respawn. He's gonna take like 3 seconds to TP, another 2 or 3 seconds to walk in the lane. So you've got about 8 seconds. So I really need 4K players to start maximizing what they do when the opponent is dead. I feel like you guys are not the greatest at this based on what I've watched. So really min-max this. I need you to min-max it. So in this case, it'd be this creep getting denied. Maybe even this creep getting denied, depending on how the lane goes. But in Dota, it's all about knowing what you need to get done, and then what other things you can fit in to the time that you have left over. That's kind of what jungle creeps are. They're kind of like what you can do with your leftover time. You need to make sure you're pushing waves, joining team fights, taking towers, and anytime you have left over where you don't have to do any of those things, you can go hit jungle. That's kind of like the same concept, but applied later on. So yeah, I don't like that you left that creep alive. So your support has pulled, and you're against a lane that's very aggressive. What I want you to think about lanes that are very aggressive is that you're trying to prevent interaction. So what your play does is it's planning to assert dominance and keep the lane outside of your tower such that you interact with the opponent when the lane's right here. And that's like nice in theory, but your support's already pulled. So the amount of time it's going to take you to hold the lane compared to like what you can afford to hold is not even close. Like if it was close, we could talk about like, you know, the nitpicky, you know, very specific, but it's not even close. You know, like the time you have over here compared to the time you're sitting outside a tower. And that was predictable. That was predictable right here. You see your support pulling. No way in fuck you're going to keep this outside of your tower. So this is definitely a moment where to minimize opponent interaction, as well as like understanding it's not possible for you to keep it outside the tower the second that your support pulls, you would pull these into tower. Anything you do outside of tower is kind of like unnecessary damage that you're going to be taking. Because the creeps are just alive for a longer time. So like if instead of having 5 creeps chase you under tower, you would just have 4. That kind of stuff, that stuff adds up a lot, I'll just tell you. It does. Okay, you're going to kill those creeps. That was smart. Make sure you get back to this creep wave in time. You're going to try to drag it outside a tower. I disagree with this. I really disagree with this. So I see what you're trying to do. You have to totally understand that I see what you're trying to do. You're against a lane that is what I call a grief lane. I want you to think about what happens if you just farm, and what happens if those two heroes just farm. So it's really important to think about this. It's a grief lane because the opponent lane, the heroes are good at killing heroes, but they're bad at everything else. They're bad at farming, they're bad at tower taking, they're bad at ganking. Undying as a 4 and CK as a 3. CK is not going to gank, he's not going to take your tower, he's not going to flash farm. Same with Undying, he's not going to gank, he's not going to take your tower, he's not going to flash farm. So in these lanes, just minimize interaction. If the lane's underneath your tower, you know, take a point in your glaives and hit it out, you know, and then when the next creep wave comes up, have your warlock walk with you and hit as many creeps as possible, lane as normal with the lane like right here, and then just push it out again, you know? You're trying to like keep the lane in front of your tower, which implies you want to lane normally against the two heroes you're playing against. And I don't think you want to, if you like think about it. I don't think you would want to. Yeah, so you actually level glaives now, so you had the like the right idea. Yeah, you're just gonna push out the lane. Yeah, this is great. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, I'll tell you as a general rule of thumb. Against heroes that want to be really aggressive and they can't clear creeps, it's usually the same heroes that can't flash farm. If they can't clear creeps and they can't flash farm, and they're also aggressive heroes, CK, perfect example, Slardar, perfect example. These types of heroes, the best way to prevent them from annoying you is to just shove the lane into them. So like this idea that you were dragging it under tower, or dragging it out from underneath the tower, makes the lane push less. Notice how your approach here was just to shove the lane out, and if they contested you, you had more creeps than they did, and they took more damage than you did. So like, you had the right mindset here, but it's weird that you like didn't have the right mindset here. So whatever was preventing you from like grouping those two situations in the same bubble is what you need to think about. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're fighting into a creep wave and you're not, so you're gonna win this engagement. I could have told you that 100 times over. That was a great engagement. Push out the lane and leave. Perfect. Dude, beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Now, this is an unnecessary pull, in my opinion. You know what? No, fuck it. I don't hate it. I don't hate that pull at all. That was a sick pull. Fuck me. You're right. You're totally right, dude. Got the lane underneath your tower. It's going to allow you to farm 2 more creep waves. That was a fucking sick-ass pull. You're better than me. Holy shit.
Killing spree. Ownage.
Okay, you see the big camp's gone. You know, you kind of got like 15 seconds to clear this creep wave and go to the big camp, so you actually spend some time being aggressive. That was sick. No, 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 no. What is this? What is this? Where are you going? Where are you going, dude? Where are you going? Just go back to the creeps. Okay, a little bit of like a 10-second hiccup there. Hit the big creep first, please. A little bit of inefficiency there. I like your items. Please go hit the small camp. Nice. Gonna go push out the lane. You see an engagement going on. You're gonna walk over to it. Leveled Eclipse with level 1 beam. Little weird champ, but I don't hate it. You're gonna try to stack the camp. This is a great opportunity since Undying's gone and Tinker's showing mid to first clear the wave. Perfect stack, great efficiency. Go clear the wave right now and then come back to the stack later. Just think about it like as like your safety here. Like this stack will be waiting for you. Go clear the wave because that wave is not waiting for you. It's dying right now. So you're going to go clear this. You should have stacked the hard camp because you would have been done earlier. So think like you could have stacked the hard camp, farmed an extra creep wave down here, and then after you've cleared all of this stuff, you could have walked back to that medium camp stack. The times where you clear that medium camp stack is when you've already cleared all of these creeps, or for whatever reason in the game you're playing, these creeps are not available to you. Like whether or not they're not safe, whether or not, like whatever, whether or not your support's taking the farm, whatever it is. But with the creeps down here all available to you, especially the creep wave, clear those first and clear the stack later. Stacking the camp was sick efficiency, just staying for it was the wrong idea. So you push the tower for a bit and then backed off. You really need to make sure you're hitting the big creep with your primary attack. It's such a weird thing to not do. So this is the same thing. Right here, you're going to clear this medium camp. And right now, I want you to make sure you go back to bottom wave. Why? Because there was an engagement that went on mid. Your team is pressuring mid. Their enemy mid is dead. And there's going to be a creep wave pushing into you because the offlaner's pushing it. So I need you to see at this exact moment what I see. And what I see is a creep wave bottom that's going to be available to you in about 10 to 15 seconds. So that can mean a lot of different things. And a lot of players will do different things with this situation. But what that means for you is you need to be back at that creep wave in about 15 seconds for all the reasons I presented to you. So what I mean is, don't be crazy. If you think like maybe Undying's bottom and since CK is a bit scary to you, sure, come back to the creep wave when it's underneath your tower. If you see a support walking through this ward, sure, just TP top. Look at the top lane right now. These are all reasonable options. These are necessary interactions with creep waves that you must consider. I feel like what I'm seeing is just a little bit of brain farting and a little bit of just ignoring what's happening on the map. As 4K players, you guys generally are very good at hitting creeps. You guys are very good at just hitting creeps. Making sure, as often as possible, you guys are hitting a creep. That is really important to getting you to 4K. Now, to get past 4K, it is very important to understand what creeps are higher priority than others. Lane creeps, always higher priority if available to you. And if they're not currently available to you, the number one skill that you need to work on is when they're going to be available to you. What I mean is, let's like act like this isn't happening. Because right now, I think the really obvious decision that like I wasn't noticing because I was really tunnel visioned on the bottom half of the map is that these are like immediate farm. Like you cleared these 3 camps. Look how much time you're spending to get like 2 camps because you're going to go stack. This is like a ton of gold that you could go get, you know? And you're about to get Mask of Madness, so it's like the perfect time to go to your Ancients, yada, yada, yada. But like, let's just ignore that this is happening. We can just look at this lane and see that, give or take 10 to 15 seconds from now, the CK is going to have pushed it into your tower. And there's also, based on the timer, another creep wave about right here. So that creep wave will be there just a few seconds after. And I want you to think that because you're a flash farming jungle hero, that you'll be able to clear any jungle that you feel safe to farm. And so that means every time you push a creep wave, you'll feel safer to farm the jungle near you. And I want you to think that starting your minute mark on a creep wave, like starting the minute mark on a creep wave, is generally ideal in comparison to starting it in the jungle. It's not always possible based on whatever's happening in the game. But it was the same thing that happened at 10 minutes. You stacked this camp, and then instead of walking back to the creep wave in the time that you could have, you farmed the camp. And at 12 minutes, you could easily prioritize farming this first over farming this first. Since you have an extra 15 seconds and the creep wave's not available yet, you're welcome to do some efficiency play where you either kill this medium camp or stack the medium camp, but then you would be immediately bolting back over to this creep wave. I need you to shift your priority in terms of what matters to you in regards to farm. Notice how there's a huge engagement mid. I want you to see, based on the information you have on the map in the last like 2 minutes, how many creep waves bottom you haven't farmed. I need you to see it. It matters a lot. Creep waves take about the same amount of time as a creep camp. And not only do they give you more golden experience than creep camps, but they also just do more for your team. They create pressure. They force somebody to show up there. It's just purely better to hit creep waves than it is to hit jungle creeps. Most people have a general idea that that's how things work. But I need you to see that you're allowing yourself to start the minute in this area when all it would take, since you're a really fast ranged hero, is to walk to here. These are the types of decisions that will vary between a hero like Medusa and Luna. A lot of people say Medusa and Luna are the exact same hero. They're ranged farmers. And I usually tell them like they're very different heroes, even though Glaives and Split Shot can be considered very similar spells. And an example of how these heroes are very different, if Medusa were to stack this camp at 12 minutes, she would never walk back bottom because Medusa's 275 base movement speed. So the sheer amount of time that it takes to walk to bottom lane is just not good. But on Luna, you're super fucking fast. So you should definitely walk to the ideal farm. I do. And so these are the situations where I understand you maybe want to help your team farm, and the only reason you're even here in the first place, or help your team fight, but the only reason you're even here in the first place is because you weren't farming properly. So let's ignore this situation that you showed up potentially for your team and just work on your farming. What I want everyone to realize is that showing up to fights will happen correctly if you farm correctly. If I feel like you're farming correctly, we can start to talk about when to fight, when not to fight, what fights are good for you, and why. But like simple examples of farming a jungle creep over a lane creep is really tangible ways for me as a coach to recognize you are not farming correctly. So like if you farmed this wave and these camps and like push the lane into this tower, and then there was a farm like there was a fight right here, after you've done those three things and you're like right here, we could consider talking about what happens at this fight. But I'm not even going to discuss whether or not you should show up to this fight because you shouldn't be here in the first place. So it's not worth it. It's not correct to talk about this because it's a decision you should not face. So we'll go ahead and fast forward. Yeah, very reasonable things. You're now on the top half of the map, farming the triangle, you're going BKB, stacking camps. Your efficiency overall is pretty damn good when it comes to just like sheer mechanics of the game. You're even going to yoink the small camp from the PA. You're actually going to almost kill the PA. I like that move when you see all the enemy team bottom. That was cool. So here's a perfect example of you trying to be aggressive. So I want you to see right now that based on the move you made right here, that this was a really cool move. Let's talk about this in the first place. You knew based on the map that you and PA were alone top, and you actually invaded his farm and tried to kill him. That was pretty cool. That's not a 4K move I see very often, okay? Secondly, 3 points in beam, 1 point in ult do more damage than vice versa. It's the same damage, but your beam is like a better ability on its own. Okay, so it's actually more damage because it does the damage faster, and you can only hit one target with 5 beams. So yes, it is purely better to take 3 points in beam and 1 point in ulti. The only benefit of this is 10-second cooldown, which I think we can both agree is not worth it. So now, let's not talk about it. Right now, if we look at the map, we have two clear decisions. We have one is to run for the next creep wave. Totally makes sense, totally like reasonable decision to make. Other one is to run back into our triangle. So simply put, if your triangle was already farmed, like you came from your triangle and you've already farmed it on this minute, totally makes sense to run down the lane because like there's nothing to farm here and you'd be putting yourself in the jungle, and it's not worth like being ready to farm the ancients at 15 minutes just to hit them at 15 minutes when you could start your minute mark up here. But so we're comparing one creep wave of farm to stacking both of these camps and farming them. That is way less gold. So what I need you guys to see is that creep waves are correct the majority of the time. But if the creep wave is like strictly less gold by a large margin, it's not correct. And you'll start to naturally form your decisions based on sheerly how much gold you're going to get from what you're doing. So this right here is a perfect opportunity to go back to your ancients, farm this camp, stack the ancients, farm this camp, run right back to what you're doing, maybe run mid or something. And what you'll learn based on like the timings of the map is that you kind of slingshot yourself back and forth on the map. You want to be on your own side of the map as little as possible. So usually when you're doing the farming pattern that you're doing, you're usually ending your farming patterns every 2 minutes at the ancients, right? Because you stack the ancients at the like after you farm the ancients, say you farm them at 15 because you stacked them, they're going to be spawning again at 16, and then you'll walk back to them at 17 to stack them, right? So you'll be there at 15, then you'll be there at 17, then you'll be there at 19. It's not perfect, like meaning it's not always that way, but that's generally the correct approach. So right now, the fact that you have these two camps and you don't go to them, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what you're thinking. Looks like you want to be aggressive in general, and that's good. But it's not good to give up 400 gold to be aggressive. But hey, you took a stack, so that's kind of nice.
A dominating performance.
But what ends up happening here is I actually wanted you to be aggressive on the PA right now. Imagine if you had farmed both of these camps, you'd get the same amount of gold. Meaning like, or sorry, you would get more gold doing exactly what I'm telling you to do, where you farmed these two camps and stacked them. And instead of right now you're here, you're actually up here right now. Because you've worked your way forwards instead of working your way backwards. So what I'm trying to tell you is that both options result in about the same amount of aggression, and one option simply gave you more gold. That's basically what I'm telling you. Okay, so you're gonna walk back forward on the map. I think you're oh, this is so forced. What is this? This is so god-awfully forced. Dude, please just push this wave and push this wave like all the way to here before you do this. This is crazy shit, dude. I understand that you hit a power spike and you want to walk into Roche. This is fucking nuts. Like, even if you get it, this is just fucking nuts. Please just push in the creep waves first. It's not like PA is like stopping you from roshing or something. If that was a hero that like stopped you from roshing, like a Clockwork or a Elder Titan or like a Pangolier, sure, maybe you take that opportunity to go rosh, but PA doesn't fucking matter. Okay, here's what I'll tell you. I need you to show this clip to your friends, okay? First and foremost, you guys rush the Aegis take. That Aegis take is not good unless you kill the hero that stops you from rushing, like Tinker maybe, and you've already pushed in these two lanes, okay? Those are the triggers for taking Roche. You need to push in these two lanes. So then, what I want you to see is that right now, your Invoker TP bottom. Also, I need you to look at mid. So like, yes, Invoker pushed it out, but here's what I need you to look at. From like a team strategy standpoint, every objective you're trying to take is to get more farm. So if there's like an entire half of the map, an entire creep wave that's not going to be farmed at 1805, and a hero on your team that TP bottom, just leave. Don't force this tower. Because of those factors, this is incredibly forced. You guys just don't have to be here. I know it looks like it's good for you to take a tower, but what I'm telling you is if you're winning, you're out farming the opponent, this tower will come naturally. All the creep waves will be farmed, the creep camps will be farmed, and you will eventually, over the course of a minute or two, work your way towards taking this tower, okay? It will just happen. And it's the same concept as what happened here at 1439, where yes, at 1439 you ran at the opponent, but you sacrificed efficiency. Remember that? We sacrificed killing these two creep camps. But then I told you at 1545, if you had done it my way, you would have been right here, preventing the PA from farming. You know, we can even rewind to 1545. If you had done it my way, right now, you'd be stopping this PA from farming up here, instead of being back here. So aggression at the current moment is not what it means to be aggressive, like in general as a Dota player. You're just being inefficient. I need you guys to be able to make this distinction. I'm really happy as a carry player that you're trying to play with your team and you're trying to be aggressive. But I need you to evaluate this game to yourself after watching this back and me talking to you about this last 5 minutes for like 15 minutes now, and just see how inefficient it is. I want you to make the exact same moves when the map looks better, when you have farmed the right camps. I need you to do the exact same thing. Like conceptually, theoretically, like in terms of the game strategy, you're taking objectives in the correct order. You are doing things correctly. I totally need you to understand that a lot of this is right on the right track. You're just skipping things. You're just forcing things. You're just rushing things. Dota is so much about feel, okay? I know I talk about the mathematics of Dota and the formulas of Dota, but I just need to show you this. You guys four-manning a tower when this wave's about to be right here and all of these camps are alive and your hero kills them in like 15 seconds, it's just forced. It doesn't feel good. I want you to think that right now the opponent has this area plus maybe this area. Maybe. We're talking about farm area. Like I want you to think if you're running at their farm aggressively, 1806, you just like walk over to this camp. Maybe this camp, if you're not feeling quite confident enough to like be aggressive against Tinker Undying. What if you just took this camp, and farmed your entire way backwards, and they got this. You got like 9 camps, and maybe one of your teammates even jungled some of this, and they got like 6. And imagine you do that for just like 2 or 3 more minutes. You know, suddenly you're farming faster than they are, you're accelerating, and then you're just going to take this tower for free because you've cleared these camps faster and faster and faster, and these camps are all gone. That's what I need you to think about. At the very least, you can like force a fort and then leave, you know? But like this shit's just unnecessary. I just don't like this. It makes me so uncomfortable. It's like, you're up by 6k, so it could just work, but like, it would just work way more often later. Oh man, this high ground shit is just nuts. Leave. Farm the entire map. Please. Please, 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 please. Please, please, please. When you're evaluating towers, please look at the timer. Please. Please look at the timer. 1910. You literally have a free pass to farm everything. Literally everything. You could just go boom, 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 respawn. Boop, boop, boop. Literally all yours. The entire map is your fucking oyster, and you're hitting a tower. But BSJ, Objective Gaming, forehead. Dude, please just farm 900 creeps a minute. I'm done watching this replay. Your homework is to like look at the map, look at the timer, and just envision how many creeps you can clear every minute. That's your homework. Your homework is to be like, BSJ told me that Luna farms really fast. And because Luna farms really fast, by the 20-minute mark, I want to be able to clear 30 creeps a minute. I'm not saying like prior to this moment you've cleared 30 creeps a minute, but like at this moment you're going to start clearing 30 creeps a minute. You've already got a lot of CS, to be fair. You've gotten a lot of stacks. You farmed a lot of jungle. You're farming efficiently. It's actually funny. I think you're farming really efficiently, and you're farming inefficiently, and you've got 80 creeps more than 10 a minute. So that's pretty good. It's funny. I don't even look at this number anymore because, like, to me, all I do is look at individual examples. So overall, pretty damn good. There's just moments where you're going for objectives where it's forced, and I really need to see cleaner decisions on that. But I think a lot of this is pretty damn good, my friend.